Yossarian did almost feel sick enough to go back to the hospital. And he felt even sicker 3 combat missions later when Doc Danica still shook his melancholy head and refused to ground him. You think you've got troubles? Doc Danica rebuked him with grievingly. What about me? I lived on peanuts for 8 years while I learned how to be a doctor. After the peanuts, I lived on chicken feed in my own office until I could build up a practice decent enough to pay expenses. Then, just as the shop was finally starting to show a profit, they drafted me. I don't know what you're complaining about. Dr. Nico was Yossarian's friend and would do just about nothing in his power to help him. Yossarian listened very carefully as Dr. Nico told him about Colonel Cathcart at Group, who wanted to be a general, and about General Deedle at Wing, and General Dreedle's nurse, and about all the other generals at 27th Air Force Headquarters who insisted on only 40 missions as a completed tour of duty. Why don't you just smile and make the best of it? He advised Yossarian glumly. Be like Havermeyer. Yossarian shuddered at the suggestion. Havermeyer was a lead bombardier who never took evasive action going into the target and thereby increased the danger of all the men who flew in the same formation. Havermeyer? Why the hell don't you ever take evasive action? They would demand in a rage after the mission. Yay, you men leave Havermeyer alone, Colonel Cathcart would order. He's the best damn bombardier we've got. Havermeyer grinned and nodded and tried to explain how he dum-dumed the bullets with a hunting knife before he fired them at the field mice in his tent every night. Havermeyer was the best damn bombardier they had, but he flew straight and level all the way from the IP to the target, and even far beyond the target, until he saw the falling bomb strike the ground and explode in a darting spurt of abrupt orange that flashed beneath the swirling pall of smoke and pulverized debris geysering up wildly in huge rolling waves of gray and black. Havermeyer held mortal men rigid in 6 planes as steady and still as sitting ducks, while he followed the bombs all the way down through the plexiglass nose with deep interest and gave the German gunners below all the time they needed to set their sights and take their aim and pull their triggers or lanyards or switches or whatever the hell they did pull when they wanted to kill people they didn't know. Havermeyer was a lead bombardier who never missed. Yossarian was a lead bombardier who had been demoted because he no longer gave a damn whether he missed or not. He had decided to live forever or die in the attempt, and his only mission each time he went up was to come down alive. The men loved flying behind Yossarian, who used to come barreling in over the target from all directions and every height, climbing and diving and twisting and turning so steeply and sharply that it was all the other pilots of the 5 other planes could do to stay in formation with him, leveling out only for the 2 or 3 seconds it took for the bombs to drop, and then zooming off again with an aching howl of engines and wrenching his flight through the air so violently as he wove his way through the filthy barrage of flak that the 6 planes were soon flung out all over the sky like prayers. Each one a pushover for the German fighters, which was just fine with Yossarian, for there were no German fighters anymore, and he did not want any exploding planes near his when they exploded. Only when all the Sturm and Drang had been left far behind would he tip his flak helmet back, warily, on his sweating head, and stop barking directions to Makwat at the controls, who had nothing better to wonder about at a time like that than where the bombs had fallen. "Bomb bay clear," Sergeant Knight at the back would announce. "Did we hit the bridge?" Makwat would ask. "I couldn't see, sir. I kept getting bounced around back here pretty hard and I couldn't see. Everything's covered with smoke now and I can't see." "Hey, Arfie, did the bombs hit the target?" "What target?" Captain Ardberg, Yossarian's plump, pipe-smoking navigator, would say from the confusion of maps he had created at Yossarian's side in the nose of the ship. I don't think we're at the target yet, Arnie. Yossarian, did the bombs hit the target? What bombs? Answered Yossarian, whose only concern had been the flak. Oh well, McWat would sing. What the hell? Yossarian did not give a damn whether he hit the target or not, just as long as Havermeyer or one of the other lead bombardiers did, and they never had to go back. Every now and then someone grew angry enough at Havermeyer to throw a punch at him. I mean, I said you men leave Captain Havermeyer alone, Colonel Cathcart warned them all angrily. I said he's the best damn bombardier we've got, didn't I? Havermeyer grinned at the colonel's intervention and shoved another piece of peanut brittle inside his face. Havermeyer had grown very proficient at shooting field mice at night with the gun he had stolen from the dead man in Yossarian's tent. His bait was a bar of candy, and he would pre-sight in the darkness as he sat waiting for the nibble with a finger of his other hand inside a loop of the line he had run from the frame of his mosquito net to the chain of the unfrosted light bulb overhead. The line was taut as a banjo string, and the merest tug would snap it on and blind the shivering quarry in a blaze of light. Havermeyer would chortle exuberantly as he watched a tiny mammal freeze and roll its terrified eyes about in frantic search of the intruder. Havermeyer would wait until the eyes fell upon his own, and then he laughed out loud and pulled the trigger at the same time, showering the rank, furry body all over the tent with a vibrating crush and dispatching its timid soul back to his or her creator. Late one night, Havermeyer fired a shot at a mouse that brought Hungry Joe bolting out at him barefoot, ranting at the top of his screechy voice, and emptying his own .45 into Havermeyer's tent as he came charging down one side of the ditch and up the other, and vanished all at once inside one of the slit trenches that had appeared like magic beside every tent the morning after Milo Binder had bombed the squadron. It was just before dawn during the great big siege of Bologna, when the tongueless dead men peopled the night hours like living ghosts, and Hungry Joe was half out of his mind with anxiety because he had finished his missions again and was not scheduled to fly. Hungry Joe was babbling incoherently when they fished him out of the dank bottom of the slit trench, babbling of snakes, rats, and spiders. The others flashed their searchlights down just to make sure. There was nothing inside but a few inches of stagnant rainwater. "You see?" cried Havermeyer. I told you he was crazy, didn't I?